Yeah, thanks. I agree with those 4 things at the end there, just by the way. So Joshua and I had been talking, and when we knew we were going to talk about church planting today as part of our Vision 2020 series, we thought it was the perfect opportunity to take a few minutes and let you know what's going on with the Hendersons right now. And the first thing that I'm going to say is we're not going anywhere just yet. So, we're not leaving tomorrow or anything. But also, if you want to know how you can get involved, what does church planting mean to you? You're maybe not going to go plant a church, but I'm going to get you there, and I'm going to tell you how you can make an impact. And first, I want to start with probably about just over a year and a half ago. I want to quickly kind of tell you the story for us of what church planting means and where it came from and what it looks like. About a year and a half ago, Jim and Tish Joros, our missions team leaders, came back from a vision trip to Salt Lake City. And they had an info meeting, and they just shared about what they had learned and what they had seen. And God very quickly used that meeting to work in my heart. And I found myself the next day online, just down the rabbit hole of learning Mormon theology, what they believe, and their culture and their lifestyle and what that looks like. And the Lord just broke my heart over it. And so all at once, it was not just Salt Lake City, but within a day, it was to go and plant a church there. And then 3 months later, something crazy happened. We found ourselves at the Converge Church Planting Assessment Center. We looked around and realized we were way earlier on in the process than the other 9 couples that were there. And we just went in with our hands open with no expectations, other than we'd been told that it was going to be a grueling process. And let me tell you, the 4 days is absolutely brutal. But there's a purpose to it. It's a story for another time. Anyway, we went in with no expectations, and we just said, Lord, this is yours. This is for you. You're going to do with it what you will, and we're going to trust the results, and we're going to be okay with whatever happens. And there are 3 possible outcomes from the Converge Church Planting Assessment. There's not recommended to be the point person of a church plant. There's recommended with conditions, and there's what they call a full recommend. And we were getting ready on the last day to have our exit interview and find out, and we were just like, this is it. It's over. The dream is done. We don't think we got it. And we went into our exit interview, and we got a full recommend with no conditions. I'm getting emotional now. Joshua said I would, and I told him I wouldn't, and I should have known better. But it's okay, because he should have known better too. So I'll just keep trying to move on. But since then, it's just been amazing to see confirmation after confirmation on more visits, more trips to Salt Lake as we do more research and we learn more and more about the culture in the area. And last April, we went on a vision trip, and we went with some Converge pastors from the area. And on the second day of this vision trip, we were at a conference with 3 pastors from Salt Lake City. And we were sitting at the lunch table. Victoria's next to me, and we just started talking, and I was asking them about church names. How did you come up with your church name? Did you have any others on your short list that you eliminated? And so they answered for a while, and then they're like, well, what about you? Do you have any ideas? And we kind of went down a list of a few that we had, and then Victoria and I are sitting there, and we look at each other. And there's one more name. And we're like, should we share that one? It was a little too personal and felt a little bit too close to home to share. But of course, these other pastors saw right through it, and they're like, you have to tell us that one now. What is it? And so I just looked at him, and I said, Daybreak. And Pastor Rich looks at me, and he goes, oh, you want to plant in Daybreak? And I'm like, no, we want to call it Daybreak Church. What do you mean in? And he's like, you want to plant in Daybreak? We're like, what are you talking about? It was chaos. And when we stopped speaking 2 different languages, that was the moment that we learned about this huge master plan community called Daybreak. And he said, I live there. You need to come to my house for dinner tonight. And he gave us a driving tour of this whole development. And we went to dinner at his house, and our hearts just broke. And Victoria was like, I kind of feel like I'm in the Truman Show. And I'm like, yeah, but this is it. And she's like, yeah, this is it. This is the place. It was just amazing. And the thing about Daybreak, there's this facade. It's master plan community. And when I say master plan, it is planned impeccably to a T, like to the point where no two houses on the same street can have the same exterior design or can have the same exterior color. It's meticulous. The builders, all the builders in this community are required, any backyard, because it might not be pretty enough, that can be seen from a street is required to have a 6-foot privacy fence. And this community, this development is a metaphor. It's a motif for what is happening in the culture of Utah. Because on the outside, everything is very pretty and clean, and you have the clean house fronts and street corners with the 6-foot privacy fence. But inside the yard is just dirt and barren, and behind the walls of the home is brokenness and darkness. There's so much hurt and pain. Utah has among the highest rates in the nation for depression and suicide, for plastic surgery and pornography consumption. It's a metaphor. So much darkness and pain hiding underneath this pretty exterior. There's such a stark contrast between the external appearance and the internal reality. But the fact is that the only way to bring hope and healing and breakthrough and light is through the gospel of Jesus, because Jesus didn't come to turn a blind eye. Because of their beliefs, these people can't let people in to see what's truly going on. That's not what they believe God wants them to do. But the fact is, Jesus came in to actually enter into that and not turn a blind eye to brokenness, but to bring life into the midst of it. So I want to give you just a couple other quick facts about Utah. We'll get a little more specific here. Utah is approximately 97% unchurched. That means about 97% don't know Jesus. And I include the LDS Church, the Latter-day Saints Church, in that number. And the 3 that do, 2.5%, 3% that do, that includes evangelicals, Protestants, Roman Catholic, Orthodox Christians, all of it. South Jordan, Utah, the city that we're looking at, was the first city in the world to have 2 LDS temples. Because of all the influx of people, the development that's going on there. It's growing so fast that they added a second temple. And one of those temples is within Daybreak, our target community. And I'm just going to tell you, at this point, right now, Daybreak has exactly 0 evangelical churches in it. But what's amazing is God is on the move already. We see it. There's rapid growth. There's an influx of people into the Salt Lake Valley. It's what they call the Silicon Slopes. All the tech companies from Silicon Valley are opening up operations here. There's favorable tax environment, the better politics for their businesses. So they're all moving into the Silicon Slopes, which is minutes away from Daybreak. And so what we see is God on the move, actually loosening the foothold of the enemy. And let me be clear, the LDS Church is not the enemy. But I believe that these people have been deceived by the enemy. So the Silicon Slopes, they're all moving in. There's transplants from out of state. So Utah, the politics is slowly becoming less and less influenced by the LDS Church because there are non-Mormons moving in. But here's the big problem. Anyone who leaves the LDS Church is basically, outcast from the institution. They're cast out from their family. They have nowhere and no one left to go to. All of these people who are coming in from out of state are looking for something. They're searching for something because they're broken, and they come into this hopeless place and they're longing for something. But the fact is, the big problem is there are not enough evangelical churches to reach and to serve these people. And that's why we believe that church planting is the most effective strategy to reach these people, because as much as they need Jesus, and they might not know that's what they need yet, but that's what they're longing for, they just need more churches in order to make that happen. And so I want to share one last quick story about the most recent door that God has opened for us. This is the one where you really know it's real. Victoria and I took a vision trip to the Salt Lake Valley, and we spent about 2 days in Daybreak a couple of weeks ago. And we talked to some builders, and we were like, hey, we're thinking about moving in and building here. What's the timeline look like? Every builder we talked to, so we knew they weren't just blowing smoke, said, oh, this is the exact perfect time that you need to be here in order to move in September, October timeframe. And so we ended up talking to a couple of builders, and the Lord provided for us a lot to build a home on and the finances to go under contract to build that home there. This home is in a location within Daybreak that we could not have imagined a better place for a church planter to move into. It's right on the brand new side, the west side of Daybreak. It's all brand new development. It's surrounded by homes that are either being built or empty lots that will have homes built. So these transplants who are coming in, the locals who are going to be moving in, part of the strategy of church planting is to catch them on the transition. And our prayer is that transition for them includes a new relationship and new hope with Jesus. That becomes their new normal. That's the strategy. And I have one last statistic to share with you, and this is where you come in. I'm just going to be honest about it. The average church plant in Salt Lake City, maybe it's the state of Utah, lasts 12 to 18 months before closing its doors because the pastor either burns out, it's such an uphill battle, or there's so much discouragement that the doors close and the church is gone. And so we need your help. I'm just going to tell you, we need your help. We need prayer partners. We need financial partners. We need a launch team. We're praying even now that the Lord would raise up a team for us to actually go and move with us. I know that sounds crazy, but maybe you'll be on that team. Who knows? And so today, back at the Connect table and at the table next to the Connect table, we have these info cards. And this has the baseline for everything that you need to know. We'll have more meetings along the way, but on this card you can find out more about how to contact us. Send us your questions, your encouragements, whatever it might be. There's ways to just find out more about what we're going to be doing, find out more about the culture of Utah and the LDS Church. And today, Victoria and I will be back at that table so that if you are interested in joining our prayer team, we can make that happen today. We can get you signed up today because the need is that urgent. We've got to get rolling. We've got to get praying and building the team to do this. And it's clear that God is already on the move. We know he's on the move here at Crow Hill. We know he's on the move in Utah. And even more than I want you to partner with us, even more than I want you to join in with us and what we're doing, I just want you to join in what the Lord is doing and the work that he's already doing, the wave that he has already created. And that's really all that Victoria and I can say that we've done, is we've just joined in with the work he's already doing in our hearts, joined in with the work that he's already doing in Utah, and we just jumped on board. He continues to grow us and transform us and continues to amaze us, and I believe that if you join in what he's doing, he'll do the same for you because he who called is faithful, and he will surely do it. Amen.